Hey friends, so this is a intro video to bring Gebser to the IEC. That's a conference happening at the end of May, and my talk, which was accepted, is happening on Sunday, May 27th in Hungary. This is going to be my first trip to Europe, and this is also going to be hopefully a fundraise trip. As a freelance editor and writer, a small business owner, this kind of action of flying across the Atlantic Ocean and staying at a hotel for about a week is quite an expensive endeavor. But I'm not just asking for you to pay for my trip. I am asking for you to help bring Gebser to the IEC because I feel that's worth going. That's the reason why I would like to go, and that's the reason why I'm asking for your support and help. For those of you who are familiar with my work already, you know that I've been doing a lot of work with Gene Gebser's expression of integral consciousness. And so I've been involved in the Gebser Society for the past 5 or 6 years. I've helped to organize some of the conferences, and I've also helped to become the president of the Gebser Society for the past 2 years or so. And I have been doing a lot of work with helping to get the word out about a Gebserian approach to integral consciousness and integral philosophy. And I found it to be very valuable, very explicitly valuable in understanding what's going on today when it comes to anything from the Anthropocene and climate change and the climate crisis to the political crisis happening right now, the retraction of the alt-right and the fragmentation of the left. There's a lot of things going on in the present that I feel could be addressed and spoken to by a lot of Gebser's insights and a Gebserian approach to the present. So my talk is really going to, hopefully for many people who have not experienced or read Gebser directly, but only through the works of Ken Wilber and integral theory, it will really help them get their first taste, their first experience of what a Gebserian approach is actually all about. And it will also, the other half of the paper and presentation will be a demonstration based on some of my own research and findings as a Gebserian, studying, an integral scholar studying the contemporary world, of how some of these ideas and insights actually apply, and how we can actually find some of these integral impulses kind of spontaneously occurring in contemporary culture, and how that could be very useful in understanding cultural evolution today. So really, it's bringing Gebser to the forefront of a conversation in which we were invited to in terms of the topic this year, which is allies of evolution. So I think Gebser is certainly an ally of evolution, and he is certainly an integral luminary in his own right who deserves to be read in his own right. But not only that, I think there's a lot of exciting possibilities for contemporary scholarship. So I am coming out with a book, actually, that is going to be partly shared with you at the conference, and that's sort of the point of the talk. The contemporary manifestations of integral consciousness in a diaphanous world is based on my book Passages from Tomorrow, in which I'm using a Gebserian perspective to sort of wrestle with the present and to attempt to understand how the integral is manifesting. Gebser wrote Ever-Present Origin in 1949, and a lot has happened since then. So do these ideas apply to today, to the present, and in what way and where and how? And my answer to that question, the inquiry of the book, is yes, they do, in very surprising and interesting and innovative ways. And also, as a methodology, I found that using Gebser's work and the criteria he looks for and the approach that he uses in terms of looking very specifically at works of art, culture, etc., as a kind of cultural philosopher and phenomenologist, it's a very useful approach. It can really ground us and balance the sort of head-centered mentation that integral theory has at times been critiqued for, rightly so, and sort of bring us back to center. And so Gebser is very helpful for that, and I think a lot of integral theory scholars will find him very helpful for that. So I'm hoping to bring that forward as well. And beyond Passages from Tomorrow, I'm also coming out with a anthology book through Revelor Press, and that will be called Mutations, which is sort of the generative, collective-oriented approach, where I'm bringing in many different scholars who are applying either a Gebserian perspective or really just a Gebserian-inspired perspective on the nature of mutation and transformation in the present world. So I'll be talking just a little bit about that. But so yes, in general, this is why I'm going to the IEC. It's to bring a Gebserian perspective to you, and to hopefully impart that transmission and reveal its usefulness, and also to engage in a conversation with other integral scholars and hopefully address some of the tremendous challenges that we face in the present world with a spirit of emergence and not naive optimism, but the kind of complexity, nuance, and nonlinear dimensionality in which emergence occurs, and in which we as integral scholars really need to be including into our rubric, our frameworks, our academic approaches. So Gebser offers a very different perspective on what emergence looks like. It's not necessarily developmental, and it can be very challenging for integral scholars, but nevertheless, he is offering a expression of integral emergence, of transformations of consciousness, and also of just truly transformation, truly bringing together and rendering whole the world and seeing the world as whole. And that kind of intensification of consciousness in his writing as an experience of the reader reading Gebser's Ever-Present Origin and his other works, and also as a methodology, is really useful and offers alternatives to the classical integral theory approach, which is more focused on map making, inclusive meta frameworks, and developmental psychology and developmental frameworks. Gebser's offering a different expression. And so for those of you who are interested in that different expression, I encourage you to come to my talk and learn about it and learn how it can apply to the modern world. So I think that's everything, and I've kept this video surprisingly short. It's under 10 minutes. If you found this interesting, I would truly appreciate your support. We're going to bring Gebser to the IEC and engage in an interesting, fascinating academic and spiritual conversation, and I'm very much looking forward to meeting many of you there and seeing many of you there again for the first time in a few years. So thank you once again for supporting my work. Even if you can just get the word out, that would be much appreciated. All right, guys, see you at the IEC.